Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Advance. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We'll cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment. We'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a crazy show, man. Let's get into it. So as you guys know, there's this kind of mess going on. So it started off with Cam Newton inviting Jason Whitlock to his show. And I think Cam and Jason had their kind of back and forth throughout the years. Jason had kind of spoken about the way Cam dressed, et cetera, et cetera. So Jason goes on there, and Jason Whitlock Cam asks Jason Whitlock to essentially explain, hey, man, what's the issues between you and Stephen A. Smith? Like, what's the problem? And Cam and Jason was about to answer, and Jason was essentially like, yo, I know that's your man. I don't want to cause any problem, blah, 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 blah. And Cam was like, nah, just say what you want to say. Like, say your part. So he says what he says. Chain reaction, Stephen A. Smith responds to Jason Whitlock. Throughout his response towards the tail end of it, he's like, Cam, if this man is up here saying X, Y, and Z, ask him questions. Ask him to prove what he's saying. Blah, 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 right? Then later on, Ryan Clark jumps into the mix and is like, yo, Stephen A. Smith has given you a platform, and then you go platform one of his enemies on your show. Like, what is going on here, right? So Cam Newton, being the outspoken person he is, he decides to respond to the backlash in his typical way. And I got to say this about Cam Newton. I don't know if you're going to see the show or not. Son is funny. That dude be funny. Him and his partner, when they be getting into their whole like country thing, and they be sound like they preaching, and it's actually hilarious if you listen to that dude. But anyway, Cam now is firing back at his critics and Stephen A. Smith and all of these guys that said, hey, you let Jason Whitlock come on your show and say X, Y, Z, and you didn't check him, blah, 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 blah. But before we even get into what Cam Newton had to say in response, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, Prize Picks. All right, guys, it's that time of the year. The playoff push is on. Tournament hoops are in full swing, and there's no better way to cash in if you're right on all the clutch buckets and slam dunks than Prize Picks, where it's always good to be right. I finally jumped into their Team Picks feature, and I have no idea why I waited this long. First time I tried it, I was picking game winners and totals on basketball, and I actually came out right on my first one. But even more than that, watching the game just hits different. Every bucket, every run, every late game stop actually meant something. And here's what makes it even better. It's not just individual games. On Prize Picks, you can pick who cuts down the nets, who wins the whole thing, who takes home the MVP, tournament, playoffs, even the international baseball tournament. You can call your own shot on all of it and cash in if you're right. Team Picks are live right now in 35 states. That's California, Texas, Georgia, Washington, and more, all in the same Prize Picks app you already know. Download the Prize Picks apps today and pick your first game winner, spread, or total as the playoff push rolls on, and get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use code CLNS. That's code CLNS to get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks is good to be right. All right, cool. So what I want to do is I want to play what Cam Newton had to say in response to all of the noise out there. And I'm going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to this here.
Work. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to my point, why, Cam, did you allow Jason to come on and have so much strong opinion about Stephen A? Why? Is because it happened to Carmelo when Stephen A went and talked about LeBron.
That is true.
You cannot allow people to come on your platform and you control how it goes. Mm-hmm. You only can allow them to speak their truth, how they know their truth to be. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know, you can respectfully say, hey, I don't know if this is true or not. So when Stephen A says you didn't hammer down on the question, I didn't know that it was a lie.
Yeah.
I'm going off of what he's saying.
Yeah. You know him as a person.
I didn't know. Let me say it like this. I didn't know it was a lie, and I didn't know if it was the truth of what you've known. Mm-hmm. But you allow people to speak their piece, not controlling what they say.
And the biggest thing that you can do now is, and as Stephen A. said it, is for him to come on the show. It's for him to talk more about this discussion. I think the biggest thing, though, that you had two different types of comments. On social media, they seen it. Cam, why would you do this? XYZ. First of all, it's not Cam's fault that he was on here. Obviously, it's more my fault, I guess. But also when people watch the full show, they say, you know what? We needed this conversation. We don't get enough of these two different of opinions. We love this type of interview because we both were allowed, or everybody on the platform or in the interview were allowed to say their piece. And let's not miss Mr. Mark too here. He said something about Stephen A., but first he started with you. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, oh, he just got up here to talk junk about Stephen A. His original plan was to get up here and no, Jason, what's your beef with me?
Correct.
What's your smoke with me? What's your thoughts on me so I can?
What our plan was, or my plan, let me not bring you into it. My plan was always this. Jason, you speak about my fashion decisions.
Correct.
And me wearing these crazy hats. But brother, you were on TV, right? Mm-hmm. With hats on.
Yeah.
Oh, they weren't fly as these.
They weren't, but you were trying.
That's opinionated.
Yeah, facts.
You wore hat. You took fashion serious. You were on TV, bro.
Yeah.
You're responsible for how your image is. Yeah. So at one point, you were outside the box with your presentation, but don't castrate me.
Yeah.
Because now you see, man, Cam puts more attention on his outfits or his fashion than football. That's not true.
That's not true.
And you can't say certain things if they are not true, right?
Yeah.
So as we keep going.
Yes. And one thing about both of them, before we even move on to these next two, one thing I can respect is that they both, Stephen A. Smith and Jason Whitlock, have strong opinions, and they will live and die by their own opinions, whether you agree or disagree with them.
Yeah,
and that's respect.
And what I wanted to say to bring closure to this, you cannot control who saying what. You can't control it. Everybody has a platform now, and I love that because you can control your own narrative.
Yeah.
What you, the consumer or the viewer, can control if you give them the view. Mm-hmm. If you give them the audience. Everybody, at one particular point, dare I say, was early in the game, but just having a platform that people listen to, everybody got all these platforms and these podcasts nowadays, it's going to double. Yeah. Because if you do the market research of the amount of money that Prime and Amazon is Prime, Netflix and HBO is spending on content, it's alarming. And you too should get into content.
So you heard what Cam had to say. What are my thoughts about this? This is always going to be a slippery slope, man. This is always going to be a slippery slope, this whole thing. Because when you're cool with one person, it's like an unwritten rule. You know, you don't talk to my enemies, so to speak. But Cam is probably looking at it from the standpoint, I got a show to do. And if I want to interview somebody, I'm going to interview them. And if you happen to come up in the conversation, it doesn't mean that I have an issue with you. But that's just one way of seeing it. The Ryan Clark way, or hell, the 50 Cent way of seeing it is, you talking to my enemies, it's up when I see you. So I really think it comes down to the individual. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, but I do think things like this can get messy, especially when you're cool with one of the parties. When you're cool with one of the parties, it may look like you are like not being loyal. You're not being loyal to the other person, and that can be, that can be problematic. And you don't want to find yourself within that kind of mix there, because the minute you do, man, things get pretty dicey. Next thing you know, people start questioning your loyalty. Are you really cool? Were you really my friend? Blah, 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 blah. And before you know it, the whole thing spirals out of control. So I'm really on no one side here. I thought Cam thought it would be a good interview. He would get some stuff off his chest. I think he also had some issues with Jason Whitlock himself that I think they discussed. So it is what it is, man. This is my thought. These are my thoughts on it. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments and we catch you on the next show. Peace.